Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking into some really enigmatic and honestly pretty disturbing stories that have kind of surfaced from the edges of everyday life. You share these sources with us, and our goal really is to navigate the unsettling facts, the weird theories, the ongoing mysteries, help you connect the dots, without getting lost in all the noise. We're exploring three very different but equally chilling tales. We've got an unexplained missing persons broadcast from way before the internet took off, a really horrifying real-time confession streamed live, and a strange hidden kind of shock from an obscure indie horror game.
And what's really striking, I think, is how each of these, in its own way, just blurs that line between the totally mundane and the truly terrifying. They leave this lasting mark on people who encounter them. From old TV broadcasts to digital games, these moments just stick with you.
Okay, yeah. Let's get into it. So we start back in Chicago, January 14th, 1989. Picture it. Late night, local TV station, WMAQ, is doing its sign-off. You're expecting, the national anthem, maybe some static, and then boom. Suddenly, no warning, no sound at all, just this grainy image pops up. It's a missing persons alert, says Joanna Lopez. But there's no voiceover, no details. Just this low-quality photo, like a photocopy of a young girl, big glasses, her name, and a phone number with no label. And this image just stayed on screen for hours.
Yeah, and that lack of information is precisely what makes it so unnerving. If you look at, say, other missing person alerts from that time, like one for Kevin Ayotte, they'd usually have an age where they were last seen, an agency to call, but for Joanna, just silence. This really disturbing lack of context. It felt fundamentally wrong.
That void is definitely creepy. And here's where the mystery really digs in, right? For decades, people looked. Police files, news archives, nothing. There's just no official record of a Joanna Lopez going missing in Chicago back then. But get this, her face showed up on WMAQ again in 1991. Briefly, maybe 10 seconds. Then back to the normal sign-off, like a little ghost in the transmission.
And it probably would have just faded away, but then the internet happened. That 1989 sign-off got uploaded to YouTube by the Museum of Classic Chicago Television, and suddenly, boom, the mystery catches fire again. YouTube, Reddit, intense online digging started happening.
Yeah, so when these online communities, these internet sleuths started looking, what were the first ideas? What theories popped up?
Well, it was all over the place, really. Some people wondered, was she a murder victim? Maybe she looked like that unidentified Jane Doe found in Chicago in '94. Others thought, okay, maybe it was a message, like from a trafficker trying to contact the family anonymously through the station. Yeah. Or maybe she was a runaway but came back quickly. That can maybe explain why there wasn't a big official record,
Right, if it was resolved fast.
Exactly. And then, of course, you had the cynics saying she never existed. Maybe WMAQ was just doing some weird test, or even pulling a strange prank.
But the online investigators, they actually made some progress, didn't they? Tell us about the breakthroughs.
Yeah, the Joanna Lopez subreddit did some amazing work. A really key finding was confirming that phone number. It actually belonged to Joe Mayo, and he was the commander of the Chicago Police Department's youth division back then. So that strongly suggests she was under 18, and this was a legitimate broadcast requested by the police.
Okay, so it was real, requested by the cops.
Yeah.
But then the puzzle just gets deeper. A Freedom of Information Act request, right?
Yeah.
A Reddit user filed one and found no record of a Joanna Lopez missing in Chicago between 88 and 90. How does it even work? A legit broadcast, confirmed police connection, but no missing person file.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The subreddit mods had some ideas. Illinois, apparently, is a body-present state for death declarations, meaning unless they find a body or declare someone missing under really specific legal rules, there might not be a death certificate. So if she's alive, maybe the records are sealed, or they're just lost somewhere, not digitized. Or maybe she was never officially reported missing in the first place, even if the police were involved briefly. Maybe the family handled it directly.
Wow, okay. And didn't the group actually talk to WMAQ? The TV station itself.
Yeah, they did, yeah. And the station confirmed it was a real broadcast. But interestingly, they said it was requested by an anonymous individual, not an institution like a foster home or something. And they also confirmed, yes, the photo was a photocopy, which explains why it looks so bad, so grainy, that sort of almost alien look it has.
It's pretty incredible what determined people online can uncover. Do they ever manage to, clean up that grainy image?
They did. A user called the Lava Hotshot used some advanced digital editing tools. They created an enhanced version, which gives a much clearer picture of what she might have looked like. Definitely helped focus the search.
And then there was that yearbook lead, Rachel Lopez. That seemed really promising for a minute.
Oh yeah, that was exciting. found a Rachel Lopez in a West Chicago Community High yearbook, and the resemblance was striking. The timeline seemed to fit perfectly, too. But unfortunately, it turned out Rachel was there for all 4 years of high school. So unless she went missing twice and was found super quickly both times, it just wasn't her. A real dead end.
Man. So the search just keeps going. What's the absolute latest on this?
Well, most recently, one of the moderators, Bubblegum Trad, actually spoke to a Joanna Lopez in Chicago. This woman confirmed she did run away back in 1989, just for a few days. Apparently, her reaction to the details sounded really authentic, but she hasn't yet confirmed if the photo on the poster is actually her, or if her parents would have even called a TV station for just a few days away.
So it's still up in the air. Is this woman the Joanna Lopez, or is it just this wild coincidence? 2 Joanna Lopez's running away in Chicago in '89.
It's pretty mind-boggling, isn't it? The lack of official records for a broadcast we know happened, it just leaves so many questions. The internet really has kept this bizarre little mystery alive, hasn't it? Piece by tantalizing piece.
Okay, from that lingering, kind of eerie mystery, we're shifting now to something just truly horrifying. An event that happened in real time, online. Anyone could have seen it. This is the story of Ray J. Sharif Black, Baltimore, late 2021. He was a nurse practitioner, an anesthetist, and it seems his life was really coming apart. There was a bitter custody fight with his ex-wife, Wendy, and he'd recently split from his girlfriend, Tara LeBang.
Right, and on December 11th, 2021, he starts a Facebook live stream just standing outside a house for the first minute, maybe a bit more. It just seems like someone venting, talking about his frustrations with Wendy, with Tara, defending himself against things he said were false accusations in the custody battle. Pretty standard, if intense, online ranting.
But then it just takes this absolutely drastic turn. It goes from a personal rant to something way, way darker. Blacked Ops, this bombshell. Just completely calmly says, she'll shot my ex-girlfriend in the head, yo. He even added sort of to cash. Felt like a dream, like I never thought I'd be that guy. Just chilling.
And authorities confirmed it almost immediately. Once they became aware of the stream, they went straight to Tara LeBang's home in South Baltimore. And they found her body. What's so deeply unsettling is how he sounded, just detached, almost like he was narrating something happening to someone else, not something he'd just done.
So what happens next? I mean, where does it go from there? The live stream kept going, right? And the horror escalated.
It did. He then said his ex-wife, Wendy, was next. He said, then I'm going to do myself too. And he was broadcasting this from right outside her house. The video actually catches Wendy, who was pregnant at the time, looking out her front door. Black walks up quickly, and then the stream just cuts out as he forces his way in. Within seconds, according to police, he shot Wendy. Then, incredibly calmly, took his 2 daughters, put them in a car, went back inside, and shot himself. The calmness, the way he just explained everything he was doing and about to do throughout the stream, it's profoundly disturbing. That level of internal detachment is just bone-chilling.
And the motive he gave.
Yeah.
He said he didn't want to be alone for the holidays, perceived betrayal from his ex-partners. He said something like, don't play with people's emotions, man. Don't lie on these men. Just a truly tragic, horrifying sequence of events happening live, leaving those kids. I mean,
it's a terrible reminder of how private despair can just explode into public view like that, especially now. Okay, let's shift gears now into the digital world, where horror can be very carefully crafted, or sometimes maybe just stumbled upon by accident. We're looking at Utano's Curse. It's this obscure Japanese indie horror RPG series made with something called the Wolf RPG Editor. The game itself is known for being really atmospheric, pretty eerie, uses jarring sounds, disturbing visuals, kind of mixes warped realistic photos with 2D sprites. Yeah, and what's interesting here is how this game, which had a cult following in Japan but wasn't really known internationally, never got an official English translation, became kind of infamous for this really weird and unsettling glitch. Only a few players reported it, specifically in part 2 of the series.
Right, so these players, they said their game would just randomly crash when they reached a certain shrine area. Then they'd get these jumbled error messages on screen, 4 quick flashes, and then this terrifying image. Like a seemingly dead woman is how it was described, accompanied by this horrible noise. And the game would just freeze. You'd have to force quit and restart.
Yeah.
So naturally, most people just figured, okay, weird bug, random glitch in the code.
What was it really random? That's the question game investigators started asking. Someone figured out that if you changed your computer system locale settings to Japan, suddenly those jumbled error messages, they weren't jumbled anymore. They became actual readable Japanese text.
Whoa. Okay, so what did the text say? It wasn't just a standard crash report then?
Not at all. It was this bizarre mix. It had lines that looked like typical error messages, stuff like location date, the data is being damaged, possible causes. But mixed right in with those were genuinely creepy sentences. Horror sentences, really.
So the glitch wasn't a glitch at all.
Exactly. It was a totally calculated jump scare. An intentional Easter egg the developer put in to mess with players. The Japanese text basically describes an encounter between the player character, Shizune, and this evil, possessed version of Utano, the protagonist from the first game. And given that part 1 starts grimly, with Utano finding her mother's headless body. The text and the image itself, which, kind of looks like a severed head, it seems to fit thematically. It might even be showing the mother's head.
Jeez.
Yeah, and get this. The image file itself, in the game's data, it's named Yabai, which basically translates to, oh my god, or oh no, or this is bad, clearly shows the creator intended it to be horrifying. It's actually pretty clever psychological horror messing with expectations like that.
Okay, here's another twist, though. People thought this image only appeared during the crash.
Right.
But apparently not.
Right, that was the initial belief. But it turns out the image does flash very, very briefly during a different part of the game, like a live action segment in part 2. It's super easy to miss because it's so quick.
So, okay, we know it's intentional. We know it appears briefly elsewhere. What about the image itself? Is it a real photo?
Yeah.
Or something the developer made?
That's the big remaining mystery. Sometimes homebrew or indie developers do use real disturbing images. Think of games like Hong Kong 97. Since Utano's Curse was this small, free game, it's definitely possible it's a real photo, maybe heavily edited or saturated, just used for shock value. Or maybe it was just an asset the developer found somewhere.
And has anyone figured out where it came from?
People have tried everything. Reverse image searches, digging through archives. They even tried to contact the creator, Payam, but he seems to have just vanished from the internet. Poof. So no definitive answer. The origin, whether it's real or fake, it's still unknown. It's not exactly the girl with the pearl earring, but its source is a total mystery. It leaves this really chilling question mark over the whole experience. Is it a bug? Is it deliberate terror? Is the image itself real? Super unsettling.
So today we've covered quite a range, haven't we? From that phantom missing person broadcast that just won't fade away, to a live stream tragedy bringing horror right onto our screens, and then this digital glitch that turned out to be a very deliberate dive into terror.
Yeah, and what's really striking, I think, is how all these things, though they seem so different, they all tap into that same kind of primal fear, don't they? That unexpected intrusion of the disturbing, the horrifying, into just normal life. Whether it comes through your TV or social media feed or even a video game, each one just leaves you with this lingering feeling of unease and so many unanswered questions.
So what's the takeaway for you listening? I guess these stories are a reminder that even in our world that feels so mapped out and controlled sometimes, the unexplained and sometimes the truly horrific can just surface when you least expect it. And sometimes those mysteries stick around for decades, just nagging at you. Hopefully this deep dive gave you a bit of a shortcut to understanding these really compelling, if pretty unsettling stories.
Yeah, keep exploring, keep asking questions. Always worth considering what might be lurking just beneath the surface.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the unexplained. Until next time, stay curious. And remember, the most intriguing things often happen when we dare to look just a little bit closer.